Inter sprung a bit of a surprise, beating Barcelona by 1-0. John Olu's strike proving to be the difference between the two teams just before the break. A game with plenty of incident. Barca felt they should have had a penalty late on. It did look like it was a handball. However, nothing was given, and it leaves Barca in a bit of trouble now. When it comes to qualifying out of the group, they sit third. Remember, they lost to Bayern as well earlier on in the group stages. They will take on Inter next week in what will be a huge tie for Xavi's side. Well, for more on this, let's welcome in, shall we? Stuart Robson and Ali Moreno are with us. Craig, but we weren't quite expecting that.
I was expecting a tight game, but I wasn't. And I was expecting Barcelona to dominate the stats, the possession, but I was expecting a bit more in the final third. That's what we've seen in La Liga. We knew Inter were going to be dogged because they've not had a great season so far domestically. We knew they would tuck the wing-backs in. It would be 5 at the back. They would bring people into the middle of the park. They would drop the strikers in. They would look to hit on the counter. But they didn't get enough good service to Lewandowski, and I thought Dembele did some good things, but I was saying to you during the game, he just overcomplicates it for me too many times, and I thought it was just a kind of dogged, solid, grinding out result that Simeone needed.
It was interesting, wasn't it, Ali? This was
Inzaghi, sorry.
This kind of felt almost a little Ronald Koeman-esque.
And that's not a good thing, by the way, just in case you were wondering. That is not a good thing. What we saw from Barcelona today is essentially the same thing that we saw from them against Mallorca in the weekend, playing against a better team in Inter, with better players that can hurt you on the counter. Now, the slow possession of Barcelona, how much they just kind of walk the ball up the field and then eventually walk the ball across to Dembele for him to go in potentially 1v1 situations. But because you're walking the ball up, it was never 1v1. It was always 2v1. It was always Mkhitaryan and Di Marco who would bracket Dembele down the right-hand side. And then, to the point that Craig was just making, not only does he overcomplicate his decisions, sometimes you just can't make sense of his decisions. There are moments in which Ousmane Dembele can look like the best player in the world. And then there's a first half today where he looks like the worst player in the world. But, to be fair to him, he's the only player from Barcelona who's willing to take somebody on. We never saw anything going on from the left-hand side, which then limited Barcelona to everything happening down the right. It was easier to defend because then Inter would shift over. And we never, ever did we ever see runs coming out of the midfield, late runs from out of the midfield with Gavi, with Pedri, guys breaking through lines and appearing inside the 18-yard box. So it all became services into the box that the center backs were already expecting, and they were just saying, all right, swing it in here, we'll come and attack the ball, clear the danger, and go on the counter. It's interesting, Robert, despite all the possession that Barca had, you could argue that Ter Stegen was the busier of the two goalkeepers.
Yeah, he didn't have too many saves to make, but I thought Inter looked a threat on the counter-attack, and that goes back to what I've said on many occasions, that Eric Garcia made too many bad decisions. He got too tight to people. So when the ball was played forward, and the goalkeeper did that quite often, when Barcelona were trying to press, he just chipped it over the midfield areas into the front two, and Eric Garcia either gave away fouls or got rolled or made bad decisions. And Christensen, I don't think, is a particularly dominant centre-half either. So that was a problem for Barcelona. But going back to Ali's point and Craig's point, Inter said to Barcelona, yeah, you can have possession and you can allow it to go out to Dembele. And as Ali said, Mkhitaryan doubled up with Di Marco. When they played it back to Sergio Roberto, instead of him whipping the next ball in, he played square. And I think Rafinha found himself in a position where he couldn't get at people because they played almost Alonso as the outside left and played 3 at the back at times. And Rafinha, I thought, should have gone out to the right-hand side much earlier on in the game. He's probably spent about 5 minutes there and then was taken off.
Where's this Inter side domestically, Robbo? They've lost 4 games already this season. They did everything and executed it really well today.
Well, they've got 3 centre-halves who I think are excellent players, and they haven't always played. Cherby's been in the side instead of De Vrij in recent weeks. Skriniar, I think, is one of the best defenders in Europe. De Vrij is also excellent. It's been in midfield where they've struggled at times, and I thought they'd struggle today. Çalhanoğlu as the holding midfield player, usually not a great defence. attacking player, I thought did really well tonight. He made Barcelona go wide. Mkhitaryan, and you don't often say this, defended brilliantly in doubling up with Di Marco. And I thought Barella had one of his better games of the season. And the front two worked hard just to keep hold of the ball and allow Inter to get up the pitch. It's been a poor season for them so far. This might just kickstart their season.
Sometimes when you play these games, it brings the best out of you because you don't have a choice in the matter. You know that you're going to be dominated with possession, so your tactics are pretty much set out from the start. Where when they're playing some teams in Italy, they're asked to get on the front foot more and they're a little bit more open. Looking at how difficult they made it for Bayern created way more chances in the game against a better team in Bayern Munich because Bayern Munich were a more open side and Lewandowski had a normal night. Barca would probably have won that game. They created so many chances. Today, I can remember him having the odd header, I think it was. As Robbo says, those three centre-halves with Bastoni in there, big, strong lad, they really made it difficult. And sometimes when you set your stall out from the start like that, it's a little bit easier to get a result.
Barca fans not happy, though, with the officials because it really did look like a handball from Dumfries, didn't it, Ali? And mysteriously, the ref didn't even go over to the monitor.
I have no idea what's going on with this system any longer, Dan. Why do we have it in place? If indeed there's an opportunity for the referee to actually go and take a look at the play himself, and we say, no, you know what, actually, not worthwhile, actually, not that big of a play, it doesn't really change what Barcelona may or may not potentially do in Champions League. Actually, yes, it changes all of those things. And so it would have been a moment in which, at the very least, allow the referee to go see the play. But even if you don't allow him to go to see the play, why wouldn't the VAR official look at this and clearly know that this is a handball? There is no way, physically, just mere physics. Let's look at this from a scientific angle. If Ansu Fati is heading the ball this way, right? How then the ball ends up back this way? It becomes a simple physical explanation of Dumfries swinging his arm out of control, hitting the ball past Ansu Fati. It's a handball, should have been a penalty.
It either hits, to that point, it either hits Dumfries in the arm, which looks like the winner, not in the official's eyes, or it hit Ansu Fati in the shoulder. Because the ball changed trajectory, it changed direction. And so it hit one or the other. And unless the FIFA officials had some clarity from another angle that wasn't shown on TV that showed that it completely missed Dumfries' hand and hit Ansu Fati on the shoulder or the right arm and went in a different direction. For the life of me, we were sitting straight away, we just said that's going to be a penalty kick. And we were amazed when they didn't give it. I don't think we were the only ones because Xavi didn't look too chuffed.
No.
He wasn't chuffed all night anyway.
No, he called the referees out after the game saying they should come here and explain themselves.
Well, jobs are saved and lost, not this one, but, over a long season, jobs come and go on big decisions on big games and big competitions. And for the life of me, unless somebody could, if somebody could come out and clear this up and say, look, it wasn't given because here's an angle that shows it actually didn't hit the arm and it ricocheted off Ansu Fati, then we'll all take it back. But they won't do that because there probably isn't one.
Right. Xavi is indignant after the game, Rob. Is he right to be?
Absolutely. It looked a penalty. I saw two replays that were inconclusive. You couldn't quite see what happened. The third one, that was behind the Barcelona goal, you could see that it hit Dumfries on his hand. And Dumfries knew it as well by his reaction to throw his body in the opposite direction. He was looking all around. He knew he'd handballed it. It was a penalty, and Xavi's right to be upset about it.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.